The first time Thomas Anders understood what he was waiting for, he couldn't name it. 1984, early sessions, everything new, the project taking shape, Dieter Bohlen building the compositions, Thomas delivering the vocals, the partnership forming, the music emerging. It was working. Everyone knew it was working. Label knew, manager knew, radio was responding, audiences were connecting, modern talking was happening. And in the middle of all that happening, Thomas noticed something. A small thing, so small he didn't identify it at first, just felt it, peripherally, after sessions, after takes, after delivering something that he knew instinctively, professionally, deeply was genuinely good, more than technically correct, actually good, actually moving, actually containing something that went beyond execution into genuine artistic contribution. Those moments happened, not every take, not every session, but sometimes, the moments when the voice found something the arrangement hadn't anticipated, when the performance added a layer the composition alone couldn't have carried, when Thomas Anders brought Thomas Anders to the music and the music became more than what Dieter Bohlen had built. Those moments existed. Thomas felt them. The engineer felt them. The manager sometimes felt them, and in those moments after those takes, Thomas would remove his headphones and wait, not consciously, not with articulated expectation, just a natural pause, the pause a person makes after offering something genuine, the moment of offering complete, waiting for the receiving, what came from the control room, good, from the top of the second verse, or that take works, moving on, or sometimes, rarely, that's it, we have it, professional acknowledgment, technical completion, the language of production, not the language of genuine recognition, not that was yours, that was extraordinary, that was something only you could have brought. Just that works, moving on, from the top. Thomas would nod, put the headphones back on, position himself at the microphone, continue, professional. Reliable, present, the feeling unnamed, the expectation unacknowledged, the waiting unconscious but persistent, like a quiet frequency running beneath everything else, like a note held just below the audible range, present, persistent, patient, waiting. The months passed, the success grew, first single, first charts, first recognition, modern talking expanding, Europe responding, the partnership producing, session after session, song after song, take after take, and in each session those moments, the moments when Thomas brought something genuine, something creative, something that transcended technical delivery into actual artistic contribution, and after each of those moments the wait, and after each wait the professional response, that works, moving on, good. Never, that was extraordinary, never, I couldn't have built this without you. Never, the performance you just gave changed what this song is. Never the specific acknowledgement that Thomas, slowly, gradually, over months of unnamed waiting, began to understand he was looking for. Not praise, he wasn't waiting for praise, not compliments, not reassurance. Something more specific, more necessary, the acknowledgement that what he did was creative, not executional, not technical, not performing correctly. Actually creative, that he brought artistic contribution to Dieter's compositions, that his voice wasn't an instrument being played by someone else's direction but an independent creative force that shaped the final work. That modern talking was built by two creative contributions, not one creation and one delivery. Two creations, two artistic forces, two genuinely contributing artists. That was what Thomas Anders waited for. The acknowledgement of his creative equivalence, not equal in every domain, not equal in composition or production, but equal as an artistic contributor to the final work. His performance, genuinely creative, not merely technically competent, that specific. Recognition from Dieter Bohlen, once, genuinely, that was what the waiting was about. By the end of 1984, the waiting had become conscious. Thomas aware of it, aware of the pattern. Session ends, genuine moment occurs, pause, that works, moving on. He began watching for the exceptions, the moments when Dieter might say it, when the professional language might give way to genuine acknowledgement, when that works might become something more. He watched. He waited, he noticed. 1985 arrived. The peak year, modern talking at the height of its first run. Everywhere, charts, television, radio, arenas, the phenomenon fully formed, and in the studio more sessions, more songs, more moments of genuine contribution from Thomas, more waits, more that works, more moving on, more professional completion without personal acknowledgement. There was one session, spring 1985, Studio full, manager present, label representatives, guests. A take that Thomas knew with complete professional certainty was exceptional. Not just good, exceptional. The emotional quality perfectly calibrated. The technical execution invisible. The performance carrying something that couldn't be taught or directed. Something that came from Thomas himself. From his understanding of the lyric, from his interpretation of the melody, from his genuine emotional investment, he finished the take, removed the headphones, looked through the glass, Dieter at the board, the room watching, the label representatives looking at each other, the manager nodding. Everyone in the room felt what Thomas felt. That was extraordinary. Dieter listened to the playback, listened again. That's the take. Moving on to track 4. Professional, efficient, clean. The representatives exchanged looks. The manager exhaled. Thomas stood in the booth, feeling the gap, the space between what had just happened and what had been said about it. The space where that was extraordinary should have lived, where that was yours, specifically yours, and it changed the song should have existed. Empty. Professional language in a space that needed something else. Thomas nodded. Track 4. He went to track 4. Professional, reliable, present. The waiting continuing. 1986. The sessions intense. The pressure high. The machine of modern talking requiring constant fuel. Thomas giving everything, take after take, session after session, professional commitment at the highest level. And gradually, over the course of 1986, something else developing beneath the waiting. Understanding, not yet complete, not yet articulated, but growing, a shape forming in the periphery of his awareness. He began to watch Dieter differently, not waiting anymore for the acknowledgement, watching instead for evidence. Does Dieter acknowledge this with anyone, the manager, the engineer, the label? Does the language ever change? Does that works ever become something more personal? For anyone, about anything, he watched, over months, carefully, professionally, without revealing the observation. What he saw, Dieter was consistent. That works was how Dieter spoke about what worked, for everyone, in every domain. It wasn't specific to Thomas, wasn't withholding specific to performance, was the language of a person who processed quality through technical acknowledgement, whose relationship to quality was functional. That works meaning this achieves what's needed, we can proceed, the standard has been met. Not cold, not dismissive, just functional. Dieter's way of relating to quality, consistent, across all domains, including his own work. Thomas had never heard Dieter describe his own compositions as extraordinary, had never heard him say, I wrote something genuinely great today. Just, the arrangement is working, the melody does what I needed, the production achieves the result. The same functional acknowledgement applied equally to his own contribution. Understanding this changed something, not immediately, not completely, but something. If Dieter spoke this way about everything, including his own work, then the absence of extraordinary wasn't targeted, wasn't specific to Thomas, wasn't a statement about the value of performance versus composition, was simply Dieter's language for quality. Works, not extraordinary, just works, the withholding not from cruelty, not from calculated denial of Thomas's creative contribution, from psychology. From the way a specific mind processes and communicates quality, that understanding, softer than the waiting, less personal, less directed, still incomplete, but softer. By late 1986, Thomas had begun to speak about it, not to Dieter, to the manager, late evening, after a session. Does he know that there's a difference between that works and that was extraordinary? The manager, careful. Professional, Dieter communicates differently than most people. I know how he communicates. I'm asking if he knows it's insufficient. Define insufficient. Insufficient as acknowledgement of creative contribution, as recognition that performance is a creative act, not just technical delivery. The manager was quiet. Then, I think Dieter understands performance as execution of vision, his vision, executed well or not. So he doesn't see what I bring as creative. I think he sees what you bring as essential, and what's essential to him he acknowledges as working. Essential isn't creative. No, it's not. Thomas sat with that. Has he ever said it to anyone? That was extraordinary, that was genuinely creative. The manager thought, genuinely considered, not in those words, not to anyone I've observed. So it's not that he won't say it to me, it's that he doesn't say it. That's a meaningful distinction. Yes, it is. The meaningful distinction that Thomas carried through the end of 1986 and into 1987. 1987, the final year of the first modern talking run, the partnership straining, the machine exhausted, the silences deeper. the sessions harder, the breakup approaching. And in that approaching, Thomas finally allowed himself to fully articulate what 3 years of waiting had been about. Not to Dieter, to himself, in private, in the car after a session, in the hotel room on tour, in the quiet moments when professional composure wasn't required. He had waited 3 years for Dieter Bohlen to say, "Your performance is creative, your contribution is artistic. You bring something to these songs that goes beyond technical delivery. You are not an instrument I play. You are a creative force that shapes what modern talking is." He had waited for that, consciously and unconsciously, in every session, after every genuine moment, in every pause between that works and the next take. He had waited, and what he had received, that works, moving on, from the top, never the specific words, never the genuine acknowledgment of creative equivalence. Never once in 3 years, and now, standing at the edge of the breakup, feeling the partnership unraveling, he understood with final clarity it wasn't coming. Not from cruelty, not from unwillingness, from incapacity. Dieter Bohlen could not see what Thomas saw, could not recognize what Thomas knew. That performance was creation, that interpretation was contribution, that the voice that made modern talking recognizable to millions was not an instrument executing a composer's vision, but an independent artistic act that shaped the music as powerfully as any composition. Dieter couldn't see it, not because he was wrong about everything, because he was constitutionally unable to recognize that form of creative contribution. His framework for creativity was compositional, structural, architectural. Things that could be built and measured and repeated. Performance, its spontaneity, its interpretation, its emotional truth, existed outside his framework for what creativity was. He couldn't acknowledge what he couldn't perceive. The withholding, not deliberate, not targeted, just a genuine limitation of perception. A blind spot so fundamental it wasn't even experienced as a blind spot, just the way things were. Standing this, Thomas felt something release, not healed, not resolved, but released. The waiting could stop, had always been waiting for something that was never available, waiting for a language Dieter didn't speak, waiting for recognition from a framework that couldn't contain the thing needing recognition. The waiting always impossible, now acknowledged as impossible. Something could be built from that acknowledgement, something more honest than waiting. The breakup came, professional. Clean, the partnership ending with the mutual understanding that what had been built was significant and what had broken was real, and neither could be fully reconciled with the other. Thomas walked away carrying the understanding he'd reached in 1987. The waiting over, the recognition never received, the gap between what he had given and had been acknowledged, permanent, his, to carry, to use, to make mean something. 11 years passed, 1987 to 1998. Thomas built his solo career, different projects, different dynamics, different creative relationships, some that offered what modern talking never had, genuine acknowledgement of performance as creation, partners who said what you just did was extraordinary, who recognized interpretation as artistic contribution, who understood the voice as a creative instrument, not a delivery mechanism. He received that recognition from others. It was good, it was real, it helped. It didn't replace the specific absence from Dieter. Some gaps have specific shapes, can only be filled by specific things. The gap from modern talking, specific, shaped exactly like Dieter Bohlen saying, "Your performance is creative. Your contribution is artistic. I couldn't have built this without you." That specific shape, still present, still unfilled, still occasionally felt. When the 1998 reunion approached, Thomas made a decision, different from the 3 years of unconscious waiting, conscious, deliberate. He would ask, not hint, not wait, not hope, ask directly. If Dieter was constitutionally limited in perceiving what Thomas contributed, perhaps direction could work where waiting had failed. Ask for the specific thing. The first reunion rehearsal, January 1998. They had played together, 4 hours, the chemistry undeniable, the music working, between songs that silence, their language. Near the end of the session, Thomas spoke, into the silence, directly. "I need something from this reunion that I never got from the first." Dieter looked up. "What? When a performance is genuinely extraordinary, not just technically correct, I need you to say so, specifically, not that works, not we have it. Actually say that was extraordinary, that was creative, that was yours." Silence, long silence. "Dieter, I've always said that works when it works. I know, that's the problem. You want more. I want accurate. Accurate how?" Accurate to what's actually happening when a great performance happens. It's not technical execution, it's creative contribution. It deserves different language. Dieter absorbed this, the silence, his processing, his genuine consideration, not defensive, not dismissive, actually thinking. I don't always see the distinction. I know, but the distinction is real, and I need it. Acknowledged when it occurs. Another silence, then I'll try, not you're right, not I should have said it before, not apology or acknowledgement of 3 years of waiting, just I'll try. Sufficient, the reunion proceeded, first proper recording session. First song, Thomas sang, a run-through, technically clean, good but not extraordinary. Dieter, that works, again, standard, normal, then later in the session, a take that was different. Thomas accessing something genuine, the years apart having added something to the voice, to the interpretation, to the emotional presence, something that didn't exist in the first run, accumulated, matured, real. The take ended, Thomas waited, old pattern, old pause, old space where that works usually lived. Dieter, quiet, longer than usual. Then that was extraordinary, that was yours. I couldn't have built that without you. First time, 13 years after Thomas had first waited for it. 1985 to 1998. The spring session in the room full of label representatives, the exceptional take. Moving on to track 4, 13 years between that moment and this one. Thomas stood in the booth, headphones on, the words having arrived. Late, very late, still meaningful. Late acknowledgement, still acknowledgement. Incomplete healing, still healing. 13 years, still worth waiting for. He nodded. Thank you. The next take, Dieter said, professional, back to work, but different, something different. The specific gap not filled, not erased, but acknowledged, finally, after everything.